Hello, welcome to Malls on Mission. I'm Anna, and this is the second part of I guess, a two-part series. The second half of a series. I'm here with Nathan.
Woohoo. Hello.
Yay. And yeah, I'm just going to be answering questions, kind of like Philip did last time. Uh, just I guess, whatever you've got to ask me. I was not present for the last one, so I do not know
Oh, cool.
what kind of questions.
The first one is going to be, as I've heard around here, that we do still silly questions.
Yes, we do
So,
that. So, you ready to launch into that?
I am. So, first question is, what if you had to teleport anywhere in the entire world that is not, because I know you'll be living other places, but if you were able to teleport anywhere in the entire world that would not be in the United States, you have to pick one place and it stays there your entire life.
Okay, let me make sure I understand the question. It's a place that I can go at any point.
At any point.
I can always return to this spot where the teleport is.
Yes, exactly. So you're just creating one single teleportation spot. For me, my answer to this would be I would view it more as like a vacation, like where I could go somewhere. So I would pick probably some Caribbean island in where I could just let like no one's there, and I could just show up and just peacefully just sit there.
Oh, I love that. I'm
but
actually
it could be like
torn.
it could be like a populated area too.
Okay.
Any place
Okay.
you would want to visit?
Gosh, and it has to be. It does like. It can't be attached to like a person, like it's a location.
That's exactly. So I asked my sister this, and she said, "Yeah, I just want it to be attached to a person. It has to be a location."
A location. Okay, actually, my first thought was like kind of vacation-y, like somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh.
But I actually think I would utilize what is the largest? It's in
Tokyo, Japan? Largest city?
it is the largest library.
Oh.
I think it's the British Library, so it's in England.
Yeah, in England.
And I would love to just pop in there whenever I wanted and get a book.
That's amazing.
And
like
then,
for your entire life, you just have access.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good answer. Because most people pick places that they can see.
Uh-huh.
But you're picking a place which you can read about everything.
I can just go anywhere in my mind after I get to...
That's very
I would
cool.
also just love to see the largest library.
Yeah.
I grew up going to a very large library.
Yeah.
It was the headquarters of Marion County. So it was this huge library.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed when I moved to
Did
this
not
area.
meet your standards.
To the Brandon area. I went to the Brandon Library and I was like,
oh, this is it.
That's it. Well, okay.
That's smart too, because then you could bring books back. Maybe not. I don't know.
I bet I could check them out.
You probably could check them out.
It's a library.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure I get them back in time, which wouldn't be that big an issue because
Yeah.
I can just teleport.
Yeah. That's a very good answer.
Oh, thank you.
That's probably one of the best that I've heard out of the 3 people that I've asked it. You and my 2 siblings. Awesome.
I like the question.
Yes.
I kind of wish that it was a
I know.
viable
Me too.
option.
I know.
I'd love to have access to the British Library.
All right, so I wanted to ask you a few questions. Last week I was able to ask Philip some questions, just getting to know him and his desire and just why he's doing this, and just other questions that, I don't know, were very interesting to me, and I hope we're interesting to other people. And I'm probably going to ask you some of the same questions, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So the first question that I had is that I also asked Philip was just why choose to be a missionary and live in like another country, as opposed to just have a career here, and be in the area which you've been in all of your life. I know that you can choose to go anywhere you want to. Mm-hmm. You could choose to live in Florida. You could choose to continue your speech therapy career here.
Yeah.
Why choose to be a quote unquote missionary and go somewhere else?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think every Christian is called to live on mission, right?
Yeah.
So like we're kind of all called to missions, but you're talking specifically about going overseas.
Yeah, and like what your entire
and
lifestyle is going to be with.
Yeah, serving in a different context.
Yeah.
The most honest answer is because I married Philip.
That's a pretty good answer.
And I did know what I was getting into.
Okay, so that was like part of the package.
Well, yeah. I mean, I met him and he was going to school to be a missionary pilot. So I figured that was going to be in the works somehow.
Yeah.
So I was not blindsided by this.
Yeah.
But I think that's the most honest answer. I am, however, very excited about living in such a way that I get to actually think about how I live. We just go through the motions a lot of times.
Yeah.
Living in a context that we've always lived in.
Yeah, it was very comfortable.
It is very comfortable.
Yeah.
And I like comfortable. So I'm not saying like I want to go live uncomfortably,
Yeah.
but I am very excited to I've heard so many missionaries talk about and actually just anybody who's gone overseas, even on short-term mission trips, talk about how they get to see aspects of God in a different culture that are like highlighted by that culture.
Yeah.
How a culture understands God expands the outsider or the American's view.
Yeah.
Because we are very locked into our culture. I am very locked into the American Florida culture. And my version of Christianity is defined by this culture. And so one of my biggest excitements in living somewhere else is that I will be able to understand the heart of the Father in a new way and the heart of God, because I mean everybody is made in the image of God, but we all reflect him very differently. And so the more
some people more different than others.
Yeah. But the more that I get to interact with people, I will get to see more of the face of God. Like it's like a puzzle piece almost that fits in, and I get to see more and more. So I'm really excited about that
is very
part
cool.
of missions.
Yeah, and a lot of that you wouldn't be able to see if you just stayed here and lived your life. And again, not that that's bad.
Yeah.
In terms of we're not talking about good or bad here. We're talking about what's the reason why you chose the specific way.
Right. And I want to add to that too something. I mean, just beyond just the call, like there was a very obvious like, Anna, you have a place here, and it was like the Lord saying, "I've designed you for this."
Ooh.
I had a choice. It felt like God said, "If you want this, I have designed you to fit here."
Ooh.
And I don't know where here is geographically speaking, but
exactly.
here in terms of missions, in terms of doing speech therapy on a mission scale, as opposed to a I don't know what I'm doing now, which like is still like a
very
mission.
Localized,
yeah, it's still a mission, but just getting to do it in a new context, I felt like the Lord really showed me that he had designed me for this.
That's cool.
And I have this option, so why wouldn't I take it?
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Yay. My next question was gonna be what are you excited for? But you already kind of answered that. That's very good. That's so cool. So another thing that I was thinking about is what is your time going to look like when specifically as me and Philip already talked about, you guys are in transition phase right now.
Yeah.
Baby on the way, moving to different places, eventually moving to another place which you don't even know yet.
Yep.
What in terms of, and you can split this up into however many ways you think of, but like what do you hope to learn and grow in at work, at home, in your community around you?
That is such a big question.
Yeah, I can narrow it down.
No, I want to try to answer it large and
if not, I can narrow it down. Yeah.
So, just again to make sure I understand the question is, what am I looking or expecting to learn, hoping to grow in this next season.
Yes, and more than that, just like what do you expect it to look like? I'm sure there's people out there who are like me who are interested. Okay, what is actually being a missionary going to look like for you?
Yeah. Well, like I'm sure y'all talked about in the last interview, it is going to look pretty, pretty American still in the next,
Got you.
the next couple of years. It's already started this like transition, learning to be content when everything is very dynamic and not stable.
Okay.
And that's more of an expectation. I'm not exactly excited about it, but I am expecting to learn a lot in this constant moving and adjusting, and I'm hoping that what I learn is going to translate, because the life of a missionary is very transient.
Yeah.
People coming in and going out a lot.
Okay.
If you're not the ones moving, then other missionaries in your community that you
Are
develop a
moving
relationship with are moving around. You go on furlough, you're gone.
Yeah.
You might not come back to the same spot.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
That part I'm a little bit nervous about.
Yeah.
And I'm actually like in a process right now of working out with the Lord, like what is friendship if friendship can't be lasting relationships in person?
Yeah.
And you know, talking to anybody who did long-term missions, they talked about the goodbyes, the constant goodbyes.
Yeah.
And just trying to understand what friendship looks like when you know that it's not going to be in person forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still kind of processing through all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially anticipating saying goodbye to our community
here.
Huge. And start developing more friendships where we move.
Yeah.
I love making friends. I don't like saying goodbye to friends. So
just keep them all in one place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's my teleport thing. Could I just attach
it to like every person,
piece to every person I love? So that is an aspect that I'm expecting. I'm expecting to grow in a lot, because right now it feels like a very big thing that I'm sure the Lord will teach me a lot in.
Yeah.
And there's other things like getting used to living in a new place, and we're planning on downsizing even further than where we are now, which is
always important.
One bedroom little apartment. We're planning on getting smaller. So, and then a lot of it is like learning to be a parent, and how do we teach our child how to transition well?
Yeah.
How do we transition well as a family? So there's a lot of expectation for growth, because we're not going to do this well at the beginning, and I hate knowing that, because the perfectionist in me is like you do it perfectly or you don't do it at all.
Exactly.
So I'm working through that with the Lord.
That's cool.
And I would love, we want to have well-adjusted, every parent wants to have well-adjusted kids. We don't want to bring our children into a chaotic, but we are bringing our children into a chaotic system of life, because that is what we live in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chaos. So
yeah. No, but on that same topic, speaking of I know you and Philip are going to have a child soon. Mm-hmm. It's very exciting. And one of the questions that I asked Philip was, what do you want? What do you want your child or children to experience? Like, again, they're going to be growing up in a missionary family.
Oh man, yeah.
And what are you excited about? And what do you hope to just kind of share with them as they grow up in terms of where you live? Because that's going to be a big experience for you.
Yeah.
Is not just again you're going to be helping, again, overall view of Wycliffe to be able to translate Bibles and everything.
Yeah.
But your day-to-day experience is going to be having a family, being with your kids, being with Philip, and then being at work, and then being with your community. But specifically, raising kids is going to be a huge part of
Right.
that. What,
Right.
What are you kind of looking forward to in that, and what are you wanting for them?
Yeah. I'm honestly really excited about
Oh, yeah?
raising our kids on the mission field because I partly what I talked about why I'm excited to go on the mission field is breaking out of my limited understanding of the world and my limited perspective on things, on God,
Yeah.
Christianity, because of my cultural context.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something
You don't
that
know what you don't know.
something that pretty much every missionary kid I've talked to has said is they feel like they're and this is like some it's positive and to some it's heavier and harder to carry.
Yeah.
But their identity is that of like not one place. So kind of a
A wanderer.
child of the world.
Yeah.
Like I'm I'm ethnically I'm my
This.
parents are American, but I grew up in Papua New Guinea
Yeah.
and I speak these two languages, but I don't think like an American.
Yeah.
And I don't,
Wow.
but because of my parents, I don't think necessarily like someone from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
And so the idea that they can have an expanded perspective
Yeah.
on just the world at large
Yeah.
is very exciting to me. I pray that that'll be something that they can adjust to well.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important just as Christians to recognize that our first and primary citizenship is in the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to have the opportunity to really identify with that because you don't have just the automatic citizenship here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for my kids to have that because it's not something I really understand yet.
Yeah. It's something you want to.
But it's something I want to understand.
That's cool
And
that your
so
kids are gonna
that
grow up in
our
that.
kids are just going to be able to grow up in that. Also, there's when you're living in America and American culture, I see all the stuff that I don't like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things about American culture
Yeah.
that I'm sure I'm going to miss. But in thinking about parenting,
You're like,
I'm like kind of excited to get to pick and choose the things that I highlight about American
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. You might not have
The
as many
things-
advertisements all around you
Right.
and just different
The
things.
consumerist
Yeah.
culture and the way they think of, the way my kids think about what education means.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of things that I think I will be excited for. Like I'm going to be
Yeah.
really excited that my kids know
Yeah.
that I didn't appreciate because I grew up in such an American context.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, raising my kids on the mission field, that's something I'm excited about. Also, the opportunity for them to be bilingual,
Ooh.
fantastic.
Yeah. That does sound. I mean, again, I'm sure everyone that I talk to are like, man, I wish I could know Spanish or French or German.
Right.
It's just always like something so cool,
Yeah.
which you can give them that opportunity.
Yes. And one other thing, still talking about culture,
Yeah.
that I think growing up in a single culture, we just naturally develop prejudices against people from other cultures that
Yeah.
are very different from our own.
Yes.
And so giving my kids the opportunity to kind of evade that prejudice because they're growing up in multiple places.
That's all they know. Oh, different is normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge benefit to a worldview
That's
and
very
to
cool.
living out what Christ calls us to do.
Yeah.
With the Great Commission, with just being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
The fewer prejudices you can have, the better off you are.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't even know what kind of prejudice I have most of the
Yeah,
time
no,
until
it's-
I'm faced with it in
You're
the
like,
moment.
oh,
So
maybe.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, no, one thing you mentioned earlier was you're very excited, you love making friends, and you're very sad to leave behind friends. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, you're going to be going to a different place in a different country somewhere. What, like, maybe a village, maybe a larger town, I don't know. But as you meet people, and let's say you step off the plane, you arrive, you're there, and then you get to meet a few people who maybe speak a different language, and and you're getting to learn who they are. What about that experience is exciting to you? Because it sounded like earlier you were like, "Ooh, this sounds really cool."
Yeah. Thinking about the practical, like actually being there and getting started,
Yeah.
is hugely daunting to think about. Like,
Specifically, like the language, or just
well,
other
yes,
things?
the language and the culture,
Yeah.
and knowing, here's the biggest thing, knowing I am going to make mistakes and cultural faux pas that
Yeah.
I just have no idea, and I'm
Yeah.
going to look like a fool.
Yes.
And
look like the American.
and oh my goodness, how much I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to let God grow me through that.
Yeah.
I would like to not be so afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Would love that. But also, yeah, getting to love people who are different than me and be loved by people who are different than me. I think that's
Ooh.
going to transform
Yeah.
my understanding of what friendship is.
That's so
So
cool.
I think that's one thing I'm really excited
Yeah.
about.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that my fear of making mistakes isn't going to keep me like just with the other missionaries. Like
Yeah.
I'll be out in the community.
And probably
So-
just the transition where you're going in terms of like you're not going there all at once right now.
Yeah.
It'll be that might also help you
Right.
start to build up different places. That's
Yes.
cool. Yay.
And I'm hopeful that we can take, like, even while we're in the States, we can take short-term
Yeah.
trips.
Yeah.
Especially once we figure out where we want to go.
Yeah.
To just, yeah. So God has done this with me my whole life, and He's slowly eased me into He's never thrown me in the
Yeah.
deep end.
Yeah.
I felt like even this transition of moving from our house of 4 years and this Tampa area
Yeah.
to North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's such a slow, like we're moving from our house to a temporary house with Philip's parents, and then
Yeah.
another temporary
Yeah.
with my parents.
Yeah.
So I'm getting used to just transitions and packing up and moving, and so
Yeah.
it's not as jolting when we move to another
Yeah, exactly.
spot.
Yeah.
It's just another way that God's very kind and gentle with me.
That's cool. Yeah.
He recognizes that I am made of dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, speaking of that, that was literally, you're leading me straight into my next question is, like, what do you want to see God do? Again, thinking, you can think 30,000 foot view of what do you want to see him do in the next 10, 20 years in terms of, like, move in your life? And how can people pray for you right now as you're making the
Yeah.
So there's a two-sided question. But how can people be praying for you and joining you right now in terms of as you're making this transition?
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say about transition is that it's hard to think 30,000 foot 20 years down the line.
Oh, yeah.
When change is happening in a month.
Yes.
And then in 4 more months.
Yes.
And then in 7 more months.
And then
So-
probably a ton of transitions after that.
Exactly. And so I'll be honest, I haven't thought too much about I don't have a 20-year plan.
20-year plan. Yeah.
Because there's so many things I'm just gonna focus on the next
No.
thing and the next, and I
That's probably smart too.
it's how I can
That
handle
sounds like a lot of yeah.
all that's happening.
Yeah. All right. So in the next few months, in the next year, what do
Yeah,
you want to see God do?
I would love to see God slowly what let me think of the best way to put this. I can be a very uptight person
Yeah.
when it comes to my performance
Yeah.
and how I'm functioning in a society. in my community, and I base a lot of my performance off of how I'm in a like the feedback I get from my community.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not going to have as much of that
No. Yeah.
as we change communities multiple times. And I think that's a really good thing for me, a very growing thing. And so I would like to see the Lord teach me how to receive his value of me,
Yeah.
regardless of what I do,
Yeah.
and regardless of whether I'm getting that affirmation regularly from everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Being able to rest in that with the Lord, because that will be a constant.
Definitely.
And I think our journey of identity is something that it is a journey of understanding just who we are, because
It's not a destination.
it's not a destination. It's also we're growing and changing, but our identity, knowing it, it's so important. I don't think it's not exactly a journey that like I will arrive.
Yeah.
And I will
yeah.
know who I am forever after this point.
Yeah.
But I would love to at least have reached a certain steadiness before becoming a parent. Because there's going to be so much more to learn after that. So prayers for the next. Let's see what God does in the next 5 months.
Exactly.
And then maybe I'll have some time before our kid starts, talking back and asking questions that I won't be able to answer. And
exactly. Why are we American and not in America?
Oh my goodness.
It'll be fun.
It'll be quite the adventure. So yeah, that identity that that I am valuable regardless of my output is something that I'm currently processing through, and I'm praying that I will have reached at least a point where I can like really stand
be
on.
Settled and
I can be settled on.
That's cool.
During this transition.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was a very good thing to pray for. Awesome. And then one last question is, in terms of obviously you're not doing this just by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this with Philip.
Yes.
What do you want to be able to experience with him and see him grow in as you guys are going on these next steps, going to North Carolina, going on the mission field? What in these next transitions are you excited for?
Oh, wow. I love that question. One that I've been saying for the past 4 months, I'm so excited to see Philip as a dad. I'm like
Me
that.
too.
Oh,
Very
I'm
much
so
It's gonna
excited
be
to see
amazing.
him grow as a dad. And that is such a big part of this next season of life,
huge.
even though it doesn't I mean, it's not directly tied to missions. It's our family. So, very, very excited to see him grow is in that. And, just learning more of the heart of the father as he learns to be a father. And, I think that's probably the top one.
That's cool.
I love watching him operate in the things that he's been aiming for a long time.
Ooh,
so he's been wanting to do missions for so long. And so I'm really excited to see him
actually
getting to get his hands dirty a little bit. Even though it'll be a while before we get on the missions field, he'll be working with other missionaries, and he'll be
start
getting
to get immersed in the culture a little bit.
Yes, and I love watching him learn.
Yeah.
So
I do too.
Yeah, because he's such a good student.
Yes.
And sharing what he learns as he gets excited.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see that, because it's been a little bit not stagnant, because God's been working this whole time, but it's been more of a waiting period for a while.
Yeah.
And Philip is a get up and go person.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see him get up and go.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering these questions. This has
Yeah.
been a great time.
This has been fantastic.
And I hope eventually I'll be able to teleport anywhere I want to.
That would be great if any of you listeners have technology that you can
Please help.
turn us on to. So yeah, I guess that concludes this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Nathan, thank you for joining today and leading the discussion.
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Make sure to tune in next week when we hear something else.
It'll be next month, probably.
Okay, cool.
But
cool.
yes, next episode we will talk to y'all then.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.